Joining me now is the Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, I'm actually a little bit surprised that he didn't do this yesterday, because the one thing he can do is increase these things to 15% for a duration of 150 days. So I'm not particularly surprised. I don't know why he's doing it now.
Yeah, well, and by the way, that he can do it is debatable, and I'm forgetting the exact language in the statute, but this is a 1974 statute that was passed. There's some conditions that have to be met in order for the president to do this. I think it's some sort of economic emergency. I forget exactly what the language is, but we are not in one of those situations. So just like the section that he was using before that the Supreme Court just overturned, I don't think this is legal either. I don't think it meets that definition. And I'm sure you'll see a very rapid court challenge to these tariffs as well, which, let's remember, are very unpopular in the country and driving up prices and hurting our economy, and not to mention hurting our standing in the world on all manner of different issues and relationships.
So but it's a little bit weird, because I would have thought, given how, he committed to this Liberation Day last April, and seeing how unpopular it was, he would take that Supreme Court decision as a free pass, right? Like an exit ramp. And he's not. He's doubling down. It's like, this is wildly unpopular. He keeps talking about how it's the most beautiful word in the dictionary. Nobody likes this.
Yeah, but you know Donald Trump, right? You're familiar with who he is, and he's never wrong. I mean, literally, in his entire life, he's never been wrong about a single solitary thing. And he certainly never apologized or taken any responsibility. I mean, the phrase doubling down kind of loses its meaning with Trump, because he never pauses for a moment to think that he might be wrong about anything. So of course he's going to be aggressive. And the really important part about this, and what's important both in terms of what the Supreme Court did and then what Trump said, is this is a check on Trump's power. While Trump continues to say there are no checks on his power, as if he's a king or a dictator, instead of the elected representative of elected president of a constitutional republic. And it was really important. The Supreme Court said, no, the law does apply to you. Now, this is a long-term fight, because there's all manner of different laws that Trump is ignoring. And he certainly, as we just discussed, was not chastened by this ruling in any way. But I hope people will understand the fundamental threat to the republic of having a president who says, I can do whatever I want, which, by the way, ties into our conversation about Iran and what might wind up happening there.
Well, let's talk about that, because there are members of the House who are saying you're prosecuting this thing with Iran in a way that's also not authorized, and that debate, I would say that we probably shouldn't be going to war with Iran, but that debate should take place with our elected members, with Congress. That's what the Constitution says. That's what the law says. Tell me about this.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, and we can get into the discussion of the wisdom of using military force in Iran right now. I think it would be a mistake, but there's no debating that it would be an act of war that Congress should approve. And I forget who wrote the column. I read it yesterday, basically saying, who thought that I would miss George W. Bush's approach to war? Because yes, back in the run-up to the Iraq war, he presented a very dishonest case. He manipulated facts. He lied about things. But there was a premise behind what he was doing, and that premise was that he needed the support of Congress and he needed the support of the American people. Donald Trump doesn't believe in that premise. He doesn't think he needs the support of the American people or Congress. He thinks he can do it on his own. And according to the laws of this country and our constitutional republic, he is wrong about that. This is something that absolutely ought to be brought to Congress for approval.
Right, and this is not, just to be clear, we can have this discussion, but we're not having a conversation about the merits of the highly oppressive Islamic regime in Iran, the dangerous, abusive, horrible regime that it is. Different discussion. The discussion is whether or not the president can take this country into a situation of war. Representatives Gottheimer and Lawler are opposing what Ro Khanna and Massey and people like you are doing in trying to constrain the president. They're saying that would be seen as a sign of weakness to put constraints on the president. I don't think I agree with that philosophically. I don't think that seeing America as a country that deliberates properly about what it's going to do, I think that sounds like a sign of stability.
Absolutely. And this is an important lesson that I learned. I actually, I wound up voting in favor of the Iraq War resolution back in 2003. And a big part of my motivation, I was like 5 years into being a member of Congress. I was 36 years old. I wanted to have respect for the executive branch. We'd had the 9/11 attacks. Our country was clearly under threat. The Afghanistan war was going on. If the president needed our support, I felt like, well, we should probably give it. But I learned exactly what you just said. Now, our Constitution, our country is stronger when Congress exercises its independent authority and makes decisions on its own. It doesn't just give a blank check to the president. That's why we have our system of checks and balances in place. Now, to your other point, the Iranian regime is awful, terrible, and horrible. But that's another lesson that we've learned in the last 20 years. It is not as easy to replace awful, terrible, horrible regimes and create a better situation afterwards as we once thought it was. The same could have been said about the Taliban and Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi and a whole bunch of other people, and we stumbled into conflicts. We should absolutely be putting pressure on Iran, making sure they don't build a nuclear weapon, which is, by the way, why the president shouldn't have torn up the JCPOA that was stopping.
Right, we had a deal. That was the Iran nuclear deal in 2015 that was deemed to have been working by everybody who looks at these things. It was a deal, and it was working.
Yes. No, so launching a war against a country leads you into the unknown and creates major costs in terms of lives and casualties and disruptions. And I just think that we should not be viewing the U.S. military as the easy button to solve every problem in the world. It's what we should have learned over the last 20 years. I think diplomacy, coalitions, working with our partners and allies in the region and putting pressure on Iran in a variety of different ways is absolutely appropriate. But people need to appreciate what launching a war is. It is incredibly unpredictable and dangerous, especially in the Middle East.
Congressman, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for being with us. The Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington.